What's going on? Mr. Dave here at my house, which is Alpine Skies Studio. And I wanted to talk about some of the creative artsy fartsy stuff, concrete, mortar, cement, sand, things you can make that's art, not just a big giant rock. Made a lot of rocks, but wanted to go over some of the stuff that I've been making with mortar and diamond lath and acrylic and just sand and glass beads and all kinds of cool stuff. So I hope you guys are having an awesome time wherever you are out there in Facebook land, and that you're enjoying this Sunday afternoon or evening if you're on the East Coast and or some other place on the globe. My name is Dave Henderson. I'm owner of Henderson Sculptural Arts Incorporated, and I make fake rocks, but I've also done a lot of sculpting over the years. I was a sand sculptor. I'd like to think I still am, but I sculpted sand for a living for a number of years, and worked on projects that were in the hundreds and tons and even thousands of tons, as some of you guys out there who are in the trade still slaving away, or at least you were before they shut down the whole world. And let's pray for that to come back and get back on in action there, as it were. So for a lot of years, I was sculpting sand. That's right, just water and sand. You got good sand, you can carve really steep things like the Washington Monument. Poor sand, you can't do that. You're more like a pyramid or something. And so it depends on the amount of silt that's in the sand. And most of the sand on Earth tends to have that in it. It's not on the edges and perimeters of lakes, streams, and the ocean, but is inland. And so the sand we use for sand sculptures is stuff that holds up a lot better when it dries out. It actually gets harder. Before I go much further, I want to thank my friend Mike Salvati for giving me new hair. I love my new hair. Oh, it's so nice. Anyway, he gave me this hat. This is so awesome. I missed my hair. I really do. But anyway, so Mr. Dave up here, and I'm at Alpine Sky Studio, my house. Let's talk and look at some of the cement works that I've done over the years. Some of you guys have seen these already before, but let's take a look at them again. And I'll just tell it's really super simple, and the material is like practically free. You can get a bag of 94 pound of a mortar mix, spec mix, if you get it at Home Depot or whatever, and that stuff is like $3, $5, $6, whatever, and it's a lot of material, 94 pounds. And so let's take a look at some of these creations to give you some ideas of what can be done with just super inexpensive material and a little ingenuity. So let's check it out. So I'm out here outside my little studio here, and see, these are some of the little sculptures I've done over the years, and this one has glass beads in it. These are the kind of things you can get at a pool supply store. I don't know how close I can get, but they're so cool, and they have really beautiful emerald green ones. Then they have a batch you can get that have these different colors mixed in, and you just mix it in, you're good to go. So I see that Facebook is bouncing in and out a little bit, so we'll just see how far we can go. So this is a piece I made quite a few years ago. There's some stain on there. That's an acid stain that I put on there just to finish it out. And it was a doodle. These are all just sort of doodles, just little experiments in mortar construction or sculpting, really. Over here we have this piece that we've done. These aren't very big. You can see it's little, about the size of my hand. And that was actually what I used sort of as a model. But again, it was a doodle, and we just carved this out of mortar onto a diamond lath structure, sort of a perimeter that I just tied together. And then I just carved out the piece, and then I put the acid stain on there. And that acid stain runs down. I used a little spray bottle and sprayed it down, and I think I might have used paintbrush to get some of these individual sort of look like bricks. Get those guys done individually one at a time. And then I used some black paint to accentuate this thing, give it sort of an antique-y look. So this is just mortar. Probably the material costs in this thing are maybe $1. I mean, nothing really, hardly anything at all. So mortar and a little lath, diamond lath, and you can carve just about anything. This thing is going to be around for a long time. You can then put a sealer over it, acrylic sealer if you want, and that looks really cool. Here's a piece I did, again, with the Diamond Lath. Let's take a look at Diamond Lath real quick. Diamond Lath, if I can get this without cutting myself, is this material. And it's super sharp, it's metal. But what I would do is I'd maybe take it, bend it over, connect a piece, and then pinch it together on the top. And then I'd have that. That's kind of what I did to get that shape over there that's inside the hand piece. Just Diamond Lath. You just bend it together and you tie the ends together. Super, super easy. Well, I did the same thing on that, but I made sort of a dome shape, I think it was. And then I took some mortar, put it on there, and then I set in stones that I found around my house. So I just made this little, call them kind of yard art. He's kind of bald like me. He's pretty heavy because these little stones added up to a good amount of weight. But I just mortared them in, you know, just like you're doing tile or what have you. And then on the in between, I put some mortar, just like you're mortar joining between flagstone or what have you, or even bricks. And you just sort of made the piece the way it was. Used a little white Portland to make the eyes. So I used some white Portland and put that in there, and then at the very end I put in some small little cream coat that I colored a little bit with that lighter tan color, if you will. Very, very, very easy, super easy. These are examples of the beginning of the pieces. They start off like this. Again, that's Diamond Lath, and then you just put on your scratch coat. What's cool is you can also use this for testing your stains. So I was testing various acid stains or what have you, concrete stains, to get a color I liked. These ones here are the same kind of thing. We took a piece of that Diamond Lath, curled it up. Let's flip it over here. There you can see the lath inside, and right there you go. And so we just pushed it in. We mixed it in fiberglass fibers with this, so it's not real heavy. It's much, much lighter, which is really, really good to keep the weight down on your pieces. After you're done getting that scratch coat on, you want to score it and scratch it so it's rough, so that your next coat will stick to it really well. And what I found, I needed to take this whole thing and put it in a bucket of water so it got really wet, and so that this had a lot of moisture in it. So then when you put your texture coat on it, on top of the structural coat, and you start to sculpt out your piece, you want to make sure this is really wet so it doesn't suck the moisture out and get it hard too fast. Here's a little guy, I call them garden things. It's the mom and the baby. I actually have another one of these at a friend's of mine's house. So I made two babies and a mom. This was a big blob of plastic around foam, and I taped it up into a ball, and then I put concrete around it. And then I just blobbed the concrete around it, and then once I was done, it went off. We took the whole interior part of it out, the big blob of plastic. And on top here, I put little balls of foam and then used mortar mix over this portion and carved out the eyes. And so they're so much fun. And this is concrete. There's a few bucks to make this guy. Very, very simple. Super, super simple. Over here we see examples of how to make the rocks sometimes. If you want to do it this way, you can do the rebar, and then I'm putting the Diamond Lath on the outside. And this is sort of more of a sculpture than out in the field. I usually put the Diamond Lath or burlap on the inside and come at it from the other direction and seal off this rebar. You can see it's rusting. But this piece I can get access to, and I'm going to cover that all up when I'm done. This has been sitting around for years, literally. When you use mud to make some of your pieces, like this is from one of my other sculptures, then you just use it up as a scratch coat to put on your frame and just push it in there. And it works really, really good. So this could be a fake rock at some point, or it could be a sculpture we could turn into something that we might want to do. So we'll walk over to some of these other pieces. We're up here at my house in Alpine, California, and we'll see if the signal continues to hold. It's still going. That other piece we just saw looks kind of like this. Here's an example of it being done. A rock. It's the same kind of thing. The inside we'd finish off But this is a fake rock that we did years ago. It was in a class I did actually, and this was my demo piece. Here's another piece. This was actually the very first sculpture I made, and I used a piece of diamond lath and kind of crunched it into a column, if you will, and it folded. And this is kind of how the diamond lath folded. And so I then came back and covered it with a scratch coat, just like I showed you in the other one. And then as I started to finish it up towards the top of it, I don't know where I got the idea, but it just seemed like it'd be a cool thing to have a little face like there. So this whole piece looks like it's wearing a cloak of some kind. And so I went ahead and put the mortar mix on there after the scratch coat, and that gave us this piece. It's not too heavy. It's kind of thin on the side, as you can see there. So it looks like something leaning over. It's kind of cool. But what's cool is once you get that texture coat on, you can come back with a sponge and you rub it, and it reveals the sand texture, the aggregate that's inside your piece. After we did that, I came back and stained it with an acid stain and let it run down and did a bunch of coats. Muriatic acid stain. I think it was a company called Schofield Stains. They have a lot of really high quality acid stains for concrete. But this is a piece that we put together, has very little material in it, just a few bucks really to make it. But I just love the look of it. And but let me point something out. You'll notice well, maybe you can't see it, but there's a small